by Matt Snyder at Matt Snyder's 13H ago 5 minutes read, the Washington Nationals got two big-time home runs in the 8th inning Saturday night to steal Game 2 from the Chicago Cubs, 63. This evens the best off of NLDS, 11. Here are 10 things to know. Nationals offense Dortmund until later. The Nationals only managed 2 singles in Game 1. In Game 2, they had just 2 hits entering the 8th inning and then absolutely exploded. Adam Lindmore on his appearance later singled to start the inning. Bryce Harper then destroyed a 1-out, 2-run home run to tie the game, and the once nearly silent ballpark finally came alive. MLB at MLB October 8, 2017. The Nats were far from done. Anthony Rendon drew a walk before Daniel Murphy singled to left and then Ryan Zimmerman clubbed the 3-run home run. The Nationals went 16 innings with just 4 hits and 1 run. In the 8th inning of Game 2, they scored 5 runs on 6 hits. Harper erases concerns through his first 7 at-bats of the series. Bryce Harper hadn't really hit the ball hard. He had 1 hit, but it was a soft liner to right field. Otherwise he didn't really look like himself. Given that he was coming off a major knee injury and was 3-for-18 upon his return in the regular season to close things out, concerns started to seep in that maybe he wasn't really himself. Perhaps that swing you saw above erases those concerns for the Nationals. That pretty well looked like vintage Bryce Harper. Cubs starters have been outstanding. Much of the focus on starting pitching heading into this series, and rightfully so, was on the Nationals' big three of Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg and Joe Gonzalez. It made sense. The 3 are likely to finish in the top 6, maybe 5 of NL Cy Young voting. In this series so far, though, it's been the Cubs' arms or the forefront. Between Kyle Hendricks in Game 1 and Jon Lester in Game 2, the Cubs' 2 starters in the series thus far has given up just 4 hits and 1 earned run in 13 innings. Lester wasn't quite as dominant and in control as Hendricks, but in the end the only run he allowed was a solo homer in the first inning to Rendon that wasn't hit all that hard. Lester has had issues in the first inning for much of the season, and that was the case with the solo shot in Game 2, but then he went into playoff mode. Lester now has a 2.58 ERA in 139-23 career postseason innings. Time and again, Lester has stepped up in the playoffs in his career, and Game 2 was yet another example. The Cubs bullpen has issues. The Cubs bullpen in the first half was outstanding and one of the best in baseball. In the second half, it was a different story. The bullpen posted a 4.48 ERA after the All-Star break. Cubs manager Joe Maddon ran through a bunch of different options for the 7th and 8th innings and has settled on Pedro Strop for the 7th and Carl Edwards Jr. for the 8th. Edwards has been good overall in 2017 and was great in Game 1, but he also had a few meltdowns this season. He blew the save in this one before Mike Montgomery relieved him to cough up the game. Overall, the Cubs have talent in the bullpen, but it's been pretty volatile in the second half. There will be some games like on Friday where the door is completely shut and others like Saturday where the opposing team storms through and steals the game. Nationals bullpen comes up huge. It's probably a bit under the radar, given the fireworks in the 8th inning, but Nationals relievers Matt Albers, Sammy Solis, Ryan Madson, Oliver Perez and Sean Doolittle come to allow just 3 hits in 4 scoreless innings after a mediocre start from Joe Gonzalez. That's some pretty stellar work against an offense as talented as the Cubs. Brazo could use some help through 2 games in this series. The Cubs have scored 6 runs on 11 hits. Anthony Rizzo is 3-for-8 with 2 runs and 4 RBI. Chris Bryant is 3-for-8 with 2 runs and an RBI. Wilson Contreras contributed a solo homer on Saturday, but otherwise Brazo has had its hands on every single Cubs run scored. Bryant and Rizzo are 6-for-16 in the series. The rest of the Cubs are 5-for-44.114. Fun nugget on Rizzo's 2-run homer in Game 2. That is the first home run given up by Joe Gonzalez on a curveball to a left-handed hitter this season. NLDS Cubs fly-through, Inside Edge at Inside Edge Scout October 7, 2017. Rizzo with 6 homers and 16 RBI is now the postseason franchise leader in both categories, while Bryant is the franchise leader in hits with 29. Again, though, they could use some help in this series. Can't steal first base. In the series preview, I noted how tough a matchup on the base paths that Trey Turner would be for the Cubs. He really would be a handful for them if he got on base. He just hasn't so far. Turner is 0-for-7 and in Game 2 struck out to leave the bases loaded in the bottom of the 5th inning. He also struck out with a man on first in the 8th. Turner can be a major weapon for the Nationals in this series, but that's not going to happen if he continues to be overmatched at the plate. Lynn makes postseason debut. Nationals pinch hitter Adam Lynn got a single to open the 8th inning. It was the first career appearances in the postseason for Lynn. He had appeared in 1,344 regular season games, so now Kyle Seager of the Seattle Mariners has the most regular season games in baseball without a postseason appearance at 1,000 on the nose. Cubs have never won first two on road in postseason. Though it's not a huge playoff history compared to some of the storied franchises in baseball, this is still pretty notable. The Cubs have never won the first two games of a postseason series that they started on the road. They split in Cleveland in the World Series last year. They lost both in New York in 2015, split in St. Louis in 2015, lost both in Arizona in 2007, split in Atlanta in 2003, lost both in Atlanta in 1998, split their first two in Detroit in 1945, and so on. Now they split in Washington, D.C. in the 2017 NLDS. Game 3 shifts to Wrigley Field as a travel workout day on Sunday before the series resumes on Monday at 4:08 p.m. ET if either of the ALDS series are extended to 4 games. If not, the game will be at 5:37 p.m. ET. Max Scherzer 166, 2.51 fresh off a hamstring injury that is said to be behind him gets the ball for the Nationals, while Jose Quintana 73, 3.74 with Cubs of the Cubs makes his first career postseason start after spending 5-12 seasons with the Chicago White Sox. It's now a best-of-3 series and the Nationals have Scherzer set for Game 3. Is he healthy enough to pitch like HES capable? That's probably the biggest question as the series shifts to Wrigley Field. It seemed like the series was nearly over heading into the 8th inning. Now it's anyone's game. Should be fun.